Picture this. You're standing barefoot on ancient flagstones, the morning haze of Babylon already rising off the Euphrates. The sun is barely over the city's jagged horizon, but the stone beneath your feet is warm, soaked through by the fever of a city that never truly sleeps. All around you, the temple district buzzes with the sounds of awakening. Vendors hawking figs and incense, the low chant of priests behind carved doors, the dull clang of metal coins tumbling into offering bowls. You breathe in the sharp bite of frankincense and old sweat, feeling the sticky press of humidity on your skin. Your hands tremble, clutching a thin linen shawl, though you know it will be taken soon enough. It's your day. You've always known this was coming. Maybe you first heard it in whispers at your mother's knee, or in the cold warning your aunt spat as she tightened the cords of your robe. Maybe the rumors came from the older girls who returned home silent, their eyes shuttered, their laughter faded like the carvings on the temple walls. Every woman in Babylon dreads this morning. Every girl learns early that her body does not belong to her, not in this city, not under these gods. The temple rises above you, blue-glazed bricks glinting with lapis, cut through with bands of golden lions marching eternally along the walls. You taste dust in your mouth as you approach the entrance, flanked by men in embroidered robes, their eyes as blank as the carved faces of the city's statues. The high priest's hand settles on your shoulder, heavy, impersonal, and cold with ritual oil. Your wrists are marked with ochre, a sign for all to see. Today, you are the offering. Your name is already slipping from you, replaced by a title that means nothing except surrender. You step inside the shadowed archway, heart pounding. The air is thick with incense, cloying, sweet, almost suffocating. Bells chime somewhere in the gloom, and for a moment, you can't see anything except flickering torchlight on painted walls. Ishtar's eyes, wide and pitiless, painted again and again. All your senses are on high alert, skin prickling, ears straining for a sound that will tell you this is just a dream. But the temple is awake, and so is the city. A crowd gathers outside, waiting for the spectacle that is your duty and your doom. You are led into a narrow chamber. The floor is cool, the walls slick with moisture that drips down from the domed ceiling. Your linen shawl is taken, replaced by a ceremonial garment that leaves your arms bare, shoulders exposed to the gaze of gods and strangers alike. A low table stands in the center, scattered with oil, honey, and copper coins. The priestess who oversees your preparation does not look at you as she begins the ritual, her hands practiced, detached, humming an old hymn that you remember from childhood, now curdled into threat. You kneel as commanded. The floor bites into your knees, and you feel your heart flutter against your ribs. Outside you hear voices, some soft, some jeering, some already calling for the ritual to begin. The words cut through the stone. Let the goddess be pleased. Let her accept the offering. Each shout is a reminder that your fear is irrelevant here, that your pain is expected, even necessary. Maybe you imagined this day would be different. Maybe you thought the temple would be a place of peace, of silent prayer and fragrant offerings. Maybe, as a child, you believed the stories, that service to Ishtar was an honor, that the goddess watched over her daughters with gentle eyes. But now you see the truth. The temple is a marketplace. The rites are a transaction. You are a commodity, priced and prepared for the highest bidder who dares to meet your eyes. And here's where the nightmare sharpens. The law is not on your side. In Babylon, the sacred code is absolute. Herodotus writes, "Every woman of the land must once in her life sit in the temple of Ishtar and have intercourse with a stranger. It doesn't matter your station, princess, merchant's daughter, slave. Your fate is written in cuneiform, etched deep, into the laws that govern every hour of your waking life. Refusal is punished, shame, exile, sometimes even violence. There's no protection, only the ritual and the memory of those who went before. You're not alone, but that only sharpens the dread. All around you, other women wait. some stony-faced, some quietly weeping, some swaying as if they could disappear into the perfumed darkness if they just moved slowly enough. You catch a glimpse of a girl no older than 12, eyes swollen from sleeplessness, lips bitten raw. You want to reach for her, to offer comfort, but your own hands are frozen, your own fear too thick to swallow. They say the goddess demands it. They say the city thrives because of your sacrifice. But you can feel in your bones that this is not about faith or love. It's about power. It's about the city's need for control, for order, for something to sell to the hungry gods and the even hungrier men who wait beyond the temple doors. Outside, the sun is rising higher, the heat building, the crowd swelling as more and more gather to witness the ancient rite. Inside, the chamber seems smaller by the minute, the air closing in. You realize, with a cold certainty, that this is only the beginning. What you endure today will not be forgotten. It will mark you, shape you, haunt you as long as you live. And still the doors open, and the ritual begins. The last thing you see before you kneel again is the flicker of torchlight on the golden face of Ishtar. Silent, unsmiling, and utterly indifferent to your fate. They come for you at dawn. The high priest's attendants speak in rehearsed murmurs, hands cool and unyielding as they guide you from the waiting chamber. Outside, the city has already begun its day, but here, within these walls, time moves to the rhythm of rituals older than memory. You walk in a procession, barefoot, robed in thin linen, marked with ochre, passing beneath archways heavy with incense and whispered prayers. You feel every gaze as you step out into the temple courtyard. The air is humid, thick with the smell of oil, sweat, and burning cedarwood. Dozens of women, some older, some heartbreakingly young, move alongside you, eyes downcast or hollowed by nights without sleep. Around the periphery, men gather, traders, farmers, soldiers, merchants, all clutching copper coins, their eyes lingering too long. Some are silent, others joke with a cruel ease, wagering on who will be chosen first. You know every step is watched and weighed. Your heart hammers in your chest as the line crawls forward. A bell rings. The temple priestess stands by the entrance to the inner sanctum, her voice calm and clear as she calls each woman by name. Your own name sounds strange as it leaves her lips, a relic from another life. You feel your body tense as you are called forward, every instinct telling you to run. But there is nowhere to run. The temple is surrounded by guards. Its walls are tall and impassive. The law leaves you no escape. You're brought into a small antechamber. A copper basin filled with rosewater sits on a stone table. Beside it, a bowl of coins, already half full. You wash as instructed, hands shaking, the water cold against your fevered skin. The priestess inspects you, running her hands along your arms, checking for marks, for bruises, for any evidence that you are not as the ritual demands, untouched by men, but ready to be touched now, for the sake of the goddess. The waiting is the worst part. You kneel on woven mats that scratch your knees. The walls close in. Shadows flicker as priests move about, their faces set in careful indifference. You hear footsteps, the low rumble of male voices outside, the metallic jangle of coins being counted and recounted. This is not a secret act. This is a spectacle, a ritual the city hungers to witness. But here's where it gets worse. Your name, once yours alone, is recorded in a wax tablet, listed for the gods, the priests, and the men who will soon enter. You are not a person in this moment. You are the offering. The priestess fastens a thin cord around your wrist, an amulet pressed to your palm, symbolizing that your body belongs to Ishtar for this day, and for as long as it takes for a stranger to choose you. Herodotus writes it plainly. Every woman of the land must once in her life sit in the temple of Ishtar and have intercourse with a stranger. What he does not say is how many hours, or days, some women wait, how the city's poorest and most beautiful are taken first, while others linger, growing numb with fear and shame as each new face passes by, deciding if you are worth the ritual's price. Babylonian tablets uncovered at Sippar and Uruk detail lists of women's names, cross-referenced with the payment of temple coins, sometimes with notes in the margin, left unchosen, served twice, taken by the priest's order. Your body aches as you kneel, the strain in your back replaced by a creeping numbness in your mind. Time warps. Some women are chosen within moments, led away behind a tapestry where their ordeal will be quick and public, their tears ignored. Others wait the entire day. The men, old, young, rich, poor, make no effort to hide their intentions. Some toss coins and laugh. Others approach in silence, dropping a copper token into the bowl at your feet before leading you away. You are forbidden to refuse. The code of Hammurabi is clear. If you reject a man who has paid the goddess's fee, you risk punishment, whipping, exile, or disgrace so deep you will never marry, never bear legitimate children, never be welcomed in your own home again. The first man who chooses you smells of sweat and barley beer. His hands are rough as he leads you behind the painted curtain, his words slurred and impatient. There is no kindness, no blessing, only transaction. The ritual is over in minutes. The coin clatters into a second bowl, and you are left trembling on the woven mat. The world spinning. The voices outside unchanged. The priestess returns, expressionless, to mark your name again in the ledger, the wax pressed with the seal of the temple. You learn quickly that it is not about devotion, not about the goddess at all. It is about power. It is about control. For some, it is about humiliation. For others, money. You catch glimpses of girls led away by priests for special rites, the youngest and most fearful, their protests drowned by the chanting that echoes through the marble halls. Sometimes you hear muffled sobs. Sometimes you hear nothing at all. Each time you are led out, your legs feel weaker, your thoughts frayed to the edge of breaking. The priestess tells you to be grateful. "You serve the goddess," she murmurs. "Your suffering is holy." But you know better now. The city expects this. The city thrives on it. By sunset, your knees are raw and your heart feels emptied out. You hear mothers in the outer courtyard whispering to their daughters to be strong, to endure. The festival outside is louder, men celebrating victories in the market and in the temple both, as if your ordeal is nothing but another day's entertainment. As the crowd's eyes devour your dignity and your fate hangs on the next man's whim, you realize the rituals you endure are only the beginning. If uncovering these hidden realities, truths that history tried to bury, awakens your curiosity, subscribe now to keep accessing the raw, unfiltered testimonies of human survival you'll never find in textbooks. Because what happens after the ritual will shatter everything you thought you knew about ancient civilization. The sun sets over Babylon. The priestess closes the ledger. But for you, the night has only begun. You think the worst is over when the ritual ends. You think, for one desperate moment, that now you'll be sent home, that the city will forget, that you'll simply blend back into the streets and markets of Babylon as if nothing ever happened. But as the lamps are lit and the temple's shadows grow deeper, you learn that leaving the sacred precinct is never simple. The ritual is a beginning, not an end. You're led out from the inner chamber, legs trembling, your eyes stinging from exhaustion and the sting of incense smoke. You're made to kneel again before a stone table, this time not for worship, but for inspection. The priestess's hands are methodical, impersonal, moving over your arms and face, searching for any evidence that the ritual was not completed as prescribed. She asks questions in a low, rehearsed tone. Was the payment given? Was the amulet returned? Did you resist? Your answers are barely heard, quickly written down on a clay tablet that already bears the names of dozens of women before you. Here's where the system reveals its true teeth. The coins offered by your stranger are counted and split, one for the temple treasury, one for the priesthood, one for the city's officials. There is no reward for you, no comfort, no quiet room to rest. Your dignity is a commodity, bought and sold, its value measured in copper and grain. But here's where the control becomes permanent. The scribe who records your name does so with a stylus of bone, pressing it deep into the clay. Your service will be remembered long after your bruises fade. Every woman who completes the ritual is marked in the records. Your status changed, your future narrowed. When a suitor's family consults the temple archives, they will see your name and know you have served. Some men refuse to marry a woman whose service is too recent, or whose payment was too small, as if the size of a coin could measure purity. Your fate is not just private shame, but public knowledge, a legacy of humiliation handed down in records that survive centuries after you are gone. Archaeologists excavating Babylon's sacred quarter have found hundreds of these cuneiform tablets. Names, dates, ages, the number of coins received. In Sippar, a tablet from the reign of King Nabonidus lists more than 1,000 women who sat in the temple, noting whether they were daughters of merchants, slaves, or royal kin. Some names are marked with a single word, lost. Others, sent to Uruk. Others, still, chosen for second service. But it is not just paperwork that binds you. When you finally step outside the sanctuary, the city is waiting. Neighbors glance away as you pass. Older women mutter prayers, sometimes for your healing, sometimes for your soul. Children stare with wide, uncertain eyes. Your mother stands at the edge of the crowd, silent, her hands folded so tightly the knuckles shine white. You can see the shame on her face, a shame not of your making, but of the city's, a poison that seeps into every home. Some women never return home at all. You hear stories, whispered in corners and behind closed doors, of girls who are chosen by temple patrons or high priests for continued service. They disappear into back chambers, their lives redrawn by the demands of men who trade in power, gold, and the currency of the sacred. Sometimes it is said these women are sent to distant cities, given as gifts to foreign merchants, their names erased from the Babylonian record. You wonder, late at night, if it would have been better to vanish, or if it is better to endure the daily burden of being seen and never being the same. But the horror is systematic, and always finds new ways to tighten its grip. If your family is poor, you may be summoned again, forced to repeat the ritual in another city's temple, or to pay off a debt your father owes with your body. Babylon's economy thrives on this cycle. Women are both sacrifice and currency, and the men who profit rarely face questions. Priests remind the city that the gods demand this tribute. Merchants repeat that prosperity depends on obedience. You hear that in Uruk some women serve for months before they are released, their youth spent in windowless rooms, their identities lost to numbers on a ledger. Tonight, after the ordeal, you try to wash away the memory with river water. The scent of oil and sweat clings to your skin. Your knees ache from hours spent kneeling. In the darkness, you hear someone crying, a thin, hopeless sound, muffled by stone walls and the vast indifference of the city. You remember the priestess's warning, "Tell no one what you saw." Speak of this and you risk more than disgrace. You think of your own name, scratched onto a tablet in a storeroom where men you'll never meet decide your future. You wonder if it's possible to begin again, if one day you'll be more than the offering, more than a sum in a priest's account book. But the city is unforgiving. What you endured is not a secret. It is a mark you'll carry forever. But here's where it gets even darker. You realize some women never return because they could not endure. You hear the whispers, see the empty spaces where familiar faces once sat in the marketplace. The price of survival is silence, and the cost is paid in lives the temple does not mourn. The festival outside continues. The gods are praised for another year's fortune, for the river's bounty, for the city's strength. No one celebrates you. Tomorrow the ritual will claim new bodies. The ledger will grow longer. The city will remember, even if it pretends to forget. What remains is the weight of knowing Your story, inscribed in clay, is one of thousands. But you alone know the cost. And tonight, as the temple torches burn low and the priests count their coins, you promise yourself you will never let the city's silence erase what was taken from you. You stagger from the ritual chamber, the ache in your legs joined by a dull, bruising throb deep inside, a pain the city pretends not to see. You expect freedom when you cross the temple threshold, but you find only another line, another set of hands, another cold voice reading your name aloud. There is no softness here. Every movement is measured, every glance weighted, every action recorded. You kneel once more at the temple's outer table, shivering as the priestess's hands glide over your skin. Her fingers trace your arms, your neck, your face, looking for blemish or bruise, for any sign that you did not serve the goddess as decreed. She asks questions in the old dialect. Did the man pay? Did you resist? Did you speak the prayers? Your answers don't matter. They're inscribed on a clay tablet, pressed in neat lines, your name forever paired with a stranger's. Even as your hands shake, even as you bite your lip until it bleeds, the scribe marks the ledger, another transaction in a city built on bodies. You watch as the ritual payment is divided. Copper coins, the tokens of your humiliation, are counted with a clerk's precision. One part for the temple's treasury, one for the priests, another for the city magistrates. Nothing for you. You're left with only the amulet you wore, a charm now returned to a wooden box for the next offering. You think fleetingly of smashing it, but the stone walls and watchful eyes remind you, rebellion brings nothing but ruin. But here's where the system reveals its cruelty. The records kept by the priests outlast flesh and memory. Cuneiform tablets, centuries old, excavated from Sippar and Babylon, list the women who sat for Ishtar. Each name is a life transformed. Some are marked with an asterisk, remained in service. Others, with a final note, disappeared. The city's scribes record every detail, date, fee, age, and family, turning your pain into a permanent entry in the economy of the sacred. You know your future has shifted. Your body, once yours, is now public knowledge. Suitors' families consult the temple ledgers before making matches. The further back your name, the better. Too recent, and you are unfit, a spoiled vessel, marked by the eyes and coins of too many men. Shame in Babylon is currency, traded in whispers and side glances. You see it on your mother's face as you finally return home. She does not embrace you. She does not cry. She simply asks, "Did you bring dishonor?" And you realize your answer's written in clay for anyone to find. You learn the cruelest truth. For some, there is no return. Women, chosen by priests or powerful visitors, disappear behind stone doors, pressed into further service as concubines or sacred attendants. Their names vanish from the city's gossip but remain in the archives, catalogued and cross-referenced by the priesthood. Sometimes in the market you hear a neighbor whisper, "Her daughter was never seen again," and you know exactly what that means. But the system tightens further. If your father owes a debt, the priest can summon you for another round, to please the goddess and pay your family's dues. Some are sent to temples in other cities, Uruk, Nippur, far from anyone who might call them home. The cycle is endless, indifferent, sustained by law and tradition. You hear of a girl in the next quarter who served 3 times before she was allowed to marry, her price in the marketplace never matching the cost of her shame. Tonight, you try to scrub the smell of incense and sweat from your skin in the river. The water is cold, fast, relentless. You hear another woman sobbing, her voice swallowed by the rush. The city celebrates. The gods are thanked with wine and music. No one toasts your survival. No one cares for your scars. You remember the priestess's warning, never speak of what happened, never tell or risk punishment harsher than exile. You lie awake, haunted by the memory of your name carved into the priest's tablet. You wonder if, years from now, Some stranger will read that name and judge you by the price you fetched, by the number of times you were summoned. You wonder if you will ever feel clean again. The shame is not just yours. It belongs to your bloodline, your children, your children's children. But here's where it gets worse. Some women simply vanish. You hear the rumors, see the empty places at the well, the bowls left untouched. There are names on the tablets that no one speaks anymore. Some were lost to illness, others to despair. A few simply ran, fled the city, the gods, the laws that made them property. Sometimes you wish you were one of them. The festival drums throb outside and you feel the city moving on, swallowing your ordeal as just another sacrifice to the goddess and the machine of Babylon. Tomorrow there will be more names, more rituals, more ledgers. The city will thrive, the gods will be pleased, and you will carry this mark forever. As the torches gutter and the priests count their coins, you make yourself a silent promise. You will remember what was taken. You will not let the city's silence erase you, even if the ledgers try. The city never pauses. By the time you limp from the temple's grip, the streets of Babylon are alive with commerce and festival. Yet for you, every sound is sharper, every gaze heavier. You try to disappear among the crowds, but you can feel the mark of the ritual, real or imagined, clinging to your skin like dust in the heat. You keep your head down, but you notice the way conversations hush as you pass, how vendors turn their faces, and how even familiar hands feel suddenly distant. You think your ordeal is over, but Babylon's hunger is never satisfied. The temple's reach extends beyond its walls, threading through the very fabric of law and celebration. At the next new moon, you're summoned again, not for another ritual, but to bless the city's rulers as part of the festival of Ishtar. The high priest himself delivers the message, his words soaked in honeyed reverence. Your sacrifice pleases the goddess, and the city thrives through your devotion. But you recognize the steel beneath his voice. Refusal is not an option. You and a dozen other women, all marked by recent service, are led into the heart of the city during the festival. The streets are choked with revelers, garlands of flowers tangled with the fumes of beer and smoke. Men in official robes parade before the crowds, receiving gifts, pouring libations, boasting of victories in the marketplace. At their side, the temple offerings are displayed, forced to stand as proof that the gods are honored, that Babylon's laws are just, that every order has been followed. This is where the spectacle becomes law. The Code of Hammurabi and temple archives from Marian Sipar spell it out with chilling precision. All women, nobles, slaves, debtors, even foreign captives, must serve if summoned. The requirement isn't abstract, it's inscribed in clay and recited at every ceremony. Any woman who resists faces public shaming, loss of property, or exile to the outer districts where hunger and violence rule. You hear of girls who vanished after refusing, sent away on caravans to distant temples, or simply never seen again. Their silence is a warning. You're paraded through the square as the city's elite gather. Officials, priests, merchants, soldiers. They do not see your fear, or rather, they choose not to. They praise your beauty, your obedience, your willingness to serve the goddess, their eyes lingering with a possessive calculation. Flowers are thrown at your feet, coins pressed into your hands, but you know this is not adoration. This is display, transaction, and threat. For a moment, your mind splits from your body. You watch yourself perform, smile, nod, kneel, bow. You wonder who you are now, and whether the girl you were will ever return. But here's where it gets more twisted. This performance is not for the gods. It is for Babylon itself, a city obsessed with order, power, and spectacle. Mothers line the festival route with their daughters, whispering, "See, this is how you must behave. This is the way of things boys throw petals, men cheer, but you sense beneath it all the chill of ritualized cruelty, a system that teaches its children early that survival depends on submission. At the banquet, you are seated at the edge of the hall, on mats near the musicians and the dancers. Officials come and go, some pausing to speak in cryptic blessings, others simply to watch you eat and measure how quickly you recover from your ordeal. The priestess who oversees the gathering moves among you, checking each woman's posture, her silence, her willingness to obey. You realize that you are still being tested, your value as much in your submission as in the ritual itself. Archaeological records from Mari and letters of temple administrators detail these public rites. They record the names of women compelled to appear, the tributes paid, the debts erased or enforced, the fates of those who shamed the city by refusing. On a clay tablet unearthed near Ishtar's temple, a scribe notes, 4 women, having failed in their devotion, sent to Ur for correction. Another reads, Blessing of the Governor's Feast, conducted by 12, overseen by Priestess Eason. Each entry is another life rewritten, another line in the ledger of power. But here's the truth you feel in your bones. The city is proud of what it demands. Babylonian society has normalized your suffering, woven it into law, ritual, and celebration. The pain of women is not a secret or a shame, but a pillar on which power is built. Your body has become the currency of faith and control, your pain transformed into a spectacle that ensures the city's festivals are bountiful, its rulers satisfied, its gods, allegedly, appeased. As the night grows thick with music and shouting, a priestess leans down beside you, her voice a blade hidden in velvet. Tonight, you belong to the goddess. Tomorrow, you belong to anyone who can pay. You meet her gaze, trying to hold on to something inside that cannot be stolen, bartered, or erased. You are left in a cell after the feast, the echo of the crowd still pounding in your head, the taste of shame sharp as blood on your tongue. Your only certainty is that Babylon's system will find you again, that each rite is only a step in an endless cycle. Outside, the city celebrates its own power, convinced the goddess is satisfied. Inside, you wait for the next summoning, the next performance, the next sacrifice. And as you curl up on the cold floor, you understand fully, here, survival is not escape, it is endurance. It is learning to breathe beneath the weight of the city's indifference, to remember your name even as it is written, erased, and rewritten in the ledgers of Babylon. It happens when you least expect it. One evening, as you sweep the dust from your family's threshold, a messenger from the temple appears. His robes are bright, his voice brisk, his orders unquestionable. You are summoned for the sacred rites of initiation, he intones, as if announcing a blessing instead of a sentence. Your mother's face hardens. She has heard of these nights. So has every woman in Babylon. Your stomach knots with a terror that feels new and yet centuries old. You are taken into the temple's depths, led through passages lined with glazed bricks, each tile stamped with the goddess's lion, each step echoing with a history of feet before yours. The air grows thick and close. You pass storerooms crowded with barley, oil, incense, offerings, riches bought with rituals like yours. When you reach the ritual chamber, you are greeted not by kindness, but by ceremony. The priest and priestess wait, their eyes reflecting torchlight and centuries of tradition. They instruct you to bathe, stripping away the last layer of ordinary life. Your hair is washed in fragrant oil, your skin rubbed with resins until you almost vanish beneath the weight of perfume. The priestess places a diadem of reeds on your brow, whispering words so old that their meaning is lost, except for the fear they carry. You are told this night will bless the city and protect the river's bounty. But you know, deep down, that your pain is the true offering. You are not alone. 2 other women are prepared beside you, one silent, staring at the wall, the other quietly sobbing. The chamber is set like a stage. Thick carpets, gilded vessels, incense billowing in great clouds. You are arranged, posed, displayed before the priests and a group of city officials, men who have paid for the privilege of witnessing the prosperity rite. They watch you with interest, cold as river stones, their faces hidden behind formal masks of devotion. But here's where the horror deepens. A priest offers you a cup, wine tinged with poppy or lotus, meant to prepare you for the goddess. Your limbs grow heavy, your mind turns foggy and slow. You know what will happen. Your body is no longer your own, but an altar for the ritual. The men approach one by one, their hands eager, their voices blurred. The priestess chants prayers. The city's fortune is said to rest on your submission. The pain comes and goes in waves. The ritual is long, methodical, relentless. You hear the drums outside, the shouts of the festival, but here the only sound is your own breath, ragged, desperate, silent. The priestess wipes the sweat from your brow, muttering that the goddess is watching, that your sacrifice is for the good of all. No one asks if you believe her, but the true cost is hidden. After the ritual, you are left alone in a darkened cell, blood drying on your thighs, the scent of incense clinging to your skin. The priest returns to collect the offerings, counting coins and gifts as if tallying market produce. You hear him joke about which merchant might sponsor you next, which visiting dignitary will sample Babylon's sacred flower. Your name is written again, your status updated in a ledger. Sometimes, you hear, women disappear after these rites, sold to wealthy patrons, sent away with caravans, their stories ending in silence. Archaeologists unearthing the Ishtar Gate have found tablets bearing such names. Women chosen, then vanished, their fate recorded only in numbers. 3 received, 2 returned, 1 gifted abroad. In the archives of Sippar, a letter in faded Akkadian describes ritual attendance delivered to merchants from Tyre, from Egypt, from distant Elam. Contemporary accounts by Greek travelers, Herodotus among them, note the strangeness and brutality of these rites, though none describe the private cost. You learn, in this shadowy world, that there is no safety in ritual, no sanctuary in suffering. Every time your body is used, you are told to feel pride, to believe that you serve the goddess, that you are part of something greater. But in truth, you are a tool. Your pain is currency. Your silence is security for those who profit. The festival outside roars on. You hear flutes, laughter, the crash of cymbals, the cheers for priests and kings. You wonder if anyone in the crowd has ever stopped to imagine the real meaning of these rites, if they have ever looked up at the temple and thought about the lives spent, the names erased. The priestess returns, giving you a rag to clean yourself, a sharp look, a muttered command. Tomorrow you will be inspected. The scribe will record your purity, but here's where it gets cruelest. There is nothing to record but what has been taken. The purity the scribe demands is only an absence of hope, of choice of a future that feels safe or whole. You will carry this wound, visible or not, for the rest of your life, and yet the city will call it blessing. As you lie on the mat, the night pressing in, you hear the soft cries of other women, echoes down the corridor, voices of those who have served before, who will serve again. You clutch what little you have left, telling yourself you will survive, that you will not be broken completely. But you know the truth. Babylon has found a way to turn your survival into another kind of sacrifice. Tomorrow the scribe will come, stylus ready to confirm what the city wants to hear. But the real ledger, the one written on your heart, will never be erased. At dawn, you're summoned one last time to the upper chamber of the temple. You move with the slow caution of someone whose pain has outlasted fear. The city outside is hushed, a lull before the clamor of markets and prayers. In the pale gold light, your shadow stretches across the mosaic floor, trailing behind you like a memory you cannot shed. The priestess leads you past a row of columns painted with ancient vows, oaths that promised protection, prosperity, mercy. You wonder who ever believed those words. You're brought before the elders, men in ivory robes, faces carved by age and authority. They say little. A scribe unrolls a clay tablet, reciting the details of your service, the dates, the payments, the rituals completed. Your name is spoken for all to hear, a ceremony, an ending, a sentence. You kneel as required. The priest marks your brow with the sign of Ishtar, pressing cold oil into your skin. It's meant to purify you, to declare your ordeal finished. The elders nod, satisfied. But you know what is really being cleansed is the city's conscience, not your soul. You feel hollow, emptied out, a vessel the temple has filled and now drained for the sake of order. The tablets of the temple are full of names like yours. In one brittle record, a woman named Zamu Rabi is listed. Completed her duty. Vanished from the quarter. Another, Iltani, served, then gifted to the house of a merchant. There are entries with no explanation at all, just the names and a final. Mark. Lost. These are your silent sisters, erased by ritual and bureaucracy, remembered only as lines in a ledger and ghost stories whispered in the city's dark corners. As you rise, the priestess whispers, "You are clean now. Go in peace," but peace does not wait outside the temple gates. When you walk into the city, people avert their eyes, pretending not to see you. The friends who once laughed with you are careful, distant. Mothers pull their daughters close, warning them to be obedient, to do their duty without question. Your father is silent. Your mother holds you briefly, then lets go. In her embrace is sorrow, but also relief. One daughter finished, one less obligation to the gods. The system rolls on. The ritual ends for you, but begins again for others. Babylon is unchanged. Its festivals flourish, its markets overflow, its gods are fed. The pain that has marked you is invisible, yet everyone recognizes it. There are places you will never enter again. The inner sanctum of your home, the gossiping circle of young brides, the trust of those who have not served. Even as the years pass, you are always the offering. The city remembers, even as it pretends to forget. But here, in the hush that follows the rite, you begin to see how deep the cruelty runs. The city calls you pure, but treats you as marked. The ritual was said to bring blessings, but left only silence in its wake. Babylon's greatness, its power and pride, is built on suffering carefully hidden behind ceremony and prayer. You witness the others who come after you, new faces, trembling, silent, led in by mothers, aunts, priestesses. You watch as they vanish into the temple, return changed, or not at all. You want to warn them, but there are no words strong enough. Instead, you offer a glance, a touch, a broken smile, small things that carry the truth the city will not say aloud. You reflect finally on the nature of faith and power. The gods of Babylon are many and magnificent, but it is the hands of men, the laws of kings, and the silence of neighbors that have shaped your fate. You realize that every civilization builds its altars on the backs of those it deems expendable. In Babylon, survival meant endurance, but endurance was demanded only from those with no voice. If you came to this story believing temple prostitution was some exotic freedom or a misunderstood ritual, you now see what Babylon wanted buried. You have witnessed how faith becomes law, how ritual becomes economy, and how the suffering of women was disguised as sacred duty, normalized, commodified, and forgotten. If uncovering the real cost of these hidden systems has changed the way you see the past, hit subscribe now to continue unlocking the truths that history tried to erase. Every time you see the blue bricks of Babylon in a museum or read a legend of ancient queens, remember, every civilization has its shadows, and the only way to honor the forgotten is to see them clearly, at last. The city is alive again, its noises surging back. But as you step forward, marked and changed, you know you will never let Babylon's silence erase your story. Not now, not ever.